to send this video to anybody who can't understand why teachers are crashing out and quitting.
I'm going to say it because it ain't enough people saying it. Some of y'all send them kids to school because you just need a break from their ass. But you don't worry about the hell that they're causing these teachers.
So I'm physically leaving education and not coming back because I physically can't do it no more.
That is what's going on, guys. Every week I see another video, a viral post from a teacher talking about their quitting. Not because they don't care. It is because they can't survive doing the work anymore. That's what it is. They can't survive doing the work anymore. One teacher says, I love my kids. I love my classroom, but I'm done being broke and stressed and unsupported. And that's the truth of a lot of educators and how they're living right now. So you're seeing now another career shift that's happening right now in education. All the people that we relied on, all the people that helped change our lives. I've had a number of teachers that helped change my life. My algebra teacher, Miss Bass, fantastic teacher. She was the one that told me that I was changing. I was in her Algebra 1 class and was a straight A student. In her Algebra 2 class, she said, Antoine, I don't know what's going on with you, but I can tell you this, whatever's going on with you, you better figure it out. You don't want to be like these other kids. You don't want to be like these other kids. You better figure it out. I remember that conversation to this day because she meant something to me. There's teachers that have impacted my life. Mr. Nelson, when I moved to Madison, Wisconsin, in his algebra class, I remember our conversations. It stuck with me. Teachers are important. But here's the issue. Why are they quitting? And that's a question. We're about to find out right now. Check this out.
You honestly believe that these teachers are quitting their job 2 weeks into the school year because they're not getting paid enough or because the politics that they're dealing with from outside of the classroom is too much to handle? No, that's not the reason. The reason why they're quitting is because these kids are mean and they're making the classroom a war zone and they're getting zero support from parents at home and from admin on their campus. This 100% stems from the stuff that they have to deal with day in and day out from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. inside their classroom. It's the stuff that you have to deal with inside your classroom that makes you burn out and makes you never want to come back. I understand that so many of our kids are dealing with rough lives at home and are dealing with trauma, dealing with mental illness, dealing with learning disabilities. All of those things make it difficult to thrive in school, and I understand that. But the problem is that all of those things are no reason to treat other human beings like a piece of garbage.
You guys heard it. Teachers are being treated like garbage by your kids, by the people that you are responsible for because you aren't doing your job. I'm gonna tell you like this, guys. This is a good one. This is a good one because no matter what career you have or how busy or how successful you think you are, whether you are a working dad or a working mom, you have to be involved with your kids. You have to be involved with your kids. Just like you said, some kids are in school from 8 to 3, and a lot of kids go through after school programs after that. And then they come home for dinner. And that's all the kids get from their parents. So it's no wonder that they're terrible. No wonder they're treating their teachers like crap. Parents have no time. That is why it's so important for you to find a career where you can make the money that you want to make, but also ensure that you can supply your kids with what they ultimately need, which is you. Now, I grew up in a household with my mom, right? My mom, single mom, she worked. She worked a lot. Sometimes she worked 12-hour days. But you know who we had at home? We had grandma at home. You know who we had at home? We had my uncle at home. When mom came home, she made sure that there was food on the table. She made sure that we had our homework done. And she made sure that we ain't got no BS. That's what she made sure of. This teacher is saying right now that these kids don't care. They don't care one bit at all. And it's because of the parents. And I also say this too, guys. I'm gonna keep it 100. I'm gonna keep it 100. You know, I grew up in a household where my mom worked, right? She worked and she still works to this day. I never grew up in an environment, in a household where my mother didn't work. But my mom or my wife grew up in an environment where her mom didn't work. Her dad, you know, worked for somebody, then he took over the business and owned the business, so her mom didn't have to work. If she would work, she would do, you know, house cleaning and all this other stuff. So she was at home with the kids, making sure that everything was taken care of. She raised some fine kids. And my mom raised some fine kids as well. So there's multiple ways to do it. But I would tell you like this. There are benefits for both parents to work financially. There are benefits from it. But I will tell you also that if you can have one working and the other to stay at home with your kids in the pivotal years of their lives, they will make a greater impact on your kids. They will. And I know it's not for everybody. It's not for everybody. because everybody can't do it. But I will tell you like this, if you can put yourself in a position to be able to do it, it would be fine. It would be a good reward. It would be a good reward. You won't have your teachers looking at you sideways about your kids at home or your kids at school, knocking other kids upside the head, flicking them with rubber bands, breaking pencils on them, being a bully. All this is going on in the classroom, and your teachers are like, you know what? I'm sick of these kids. And next you know, they call the house, you erase the voice message. Or they call your cell phone, you don't answer. Or they call your cell phone and you get an attitude. Why are you calling me for? This is your job. That's what's happening in school systems right now. That's what she is saying. Let's listen to it some more.
Regardless of your opinion of teachers, most teachers that I know wake up every single day excited to teach whatever lesson that they've spent hours planning and creating. And they want to have a meaningful experience with the students in their classroom. They want to have a good day. And I know, speaking for myself, I woke up every day praying that it was going to be a good day, praying that the kids that I had that day were going to be as excited about the content that I was ready to present as much as I was. And most days, that is not what I got met with. On the daily, teachers are getting cussed out, spit on, hit, flipped off. Their equipment is getting broken and stolen. There are bullies in class that are relentless, not just to their own fellow students, but to the adult in the room. Imagine if you had to deal with that at your job. I'm speaking to non-teachers right now, right? You would not put up with that. You would stay somewhere where you were treated with respect and you knew that you were safe in your work environment.
Just imagine, guys, I'm in sales, right? And I've been in situations where I've not liked my boss, or my boss's boss, or then they came down on me. They came down on me hard, trying to be a bully in the workforce, right? Not doing it to be a bully, but just to show Antoine a lesson, to teach Antoine a lesson. You know how that feels. It sucks. It sucks when you're working with people that you don't like. But just imagine going to work every single day and you're spit on, you're threatened. They're going to beat you up. They pull your hair. That's disgusting. That's the behavior of kids these days because of parenting and the career choices that you guys make. That's the decisions. That's your fault. But nobody wants to put it back on the parents at all. Oh, they say, I don't have the time. I don't have the time. Marcus ain't my problem. Marcus is your problem. Then Marcus gets blasted by somebody in the streets. And next thing you know, you're crying. Or Marcus gets beat up. He gets jumped. Next thing you're crying. Or Marcus gets punched in the eye. Or Shelly, right? Next thing you know, you're trying to make a big scene out of it and say somebody's beating up your kids when your kid was the bully. You don't know your kid. It's because you're working too much. You don't know your kid because you're not spending the time with them. You don't know what your kid is doing because you're not involved. You're selfish. You care about yourself.
If someone came every single day to your job, bullied you, hit you, cussed you out, rolled their eyes at you, treated you like you were nothing, like you were garbage, you wouldn't want to come back either. You would put in your 2 weeks notice. But for some reason, so many people believe that we signed up for that because that's a part of teaching, and that's just how kids are. I made the decision not to return to the classroom this year, and I haven't been in a classroom for months now, and I still have nightmares, trauma nightmares on a weekly basis about my former classroom and my former students. And yes, it is a parent and an admin problem just as much as it is a kid problem, because the difference between now and 20 years ago even is that 20 years ago, when you would have a kid cuss you out, hit you, smack other kids, ruin your property, steal things off of your desk, there was going to be somebody on campus that was going to back you up and find a solution. But now that's not the case. Suspensions are down because they want those numbers down. They want to look good. They're not suspending kids for getting in fights and being violent in the classroom anymore.
I remember this, guys. Getting in fights in school, you used to get suspended. Automatic suspension. I remember when I got in a fight at school, even though my aunt she worked in the printer office, in the copy office, and it was right next to her office. I got in a fight. I got in a fight in 10th grade. This bully, he was a senior, and he was a friend, somewhat of a friend of ours. Right, but I remember sitting at the lunch table, just lunchtime, around my boys, my brother in there, my friends there. Everybody that we grew up on the block with was right there. And he came up, and I had a nice little chocolate chip cookie, and I had a little carton of milk. It's what I used to have for lunch, right? chocolate chip cookie and a carton of milk. I used to have my little banana and what else I was eating. But I loved my chocolate chip cookie and my chocolate milk because I had to pay for that. 50 cents for nice little 2-circle cookies in a little plastic shrink wrap, whatever you call it, right? I was eating it. I took the little first bite. That's good. Eric comes over there, snatches the entire cookie, right? Opens it up, peels the wrapper off, and decides he wants to go to town on it. Looking at me. Then he picks up my milk, right? Picks up my milk, opens the carton up, and just looking at me. I'm over here just steaming, hot. All my friends around there laughing. And I'm just embarrassed, right? I'm embarrassed because this has never happened to me before. Plus I got this bigger senior who's being a bully, and the tension's all on me. I'm turning red, I'm hot, I'm sweating on my nose because that's what happens when I get hot and I get nervous. I have to be around 15, 16 years old at this point in time. So I'm like, I got to do something about this. I don't know what I'm going to do. But I'll tell you like this, I have to do something about this because this guy literally just took my cookie, drank my milk, and he looked at me like, what are you going to do? He looked at me just like, what are you going to do? Now, this happens all within like a matter of a minute or something like that, probably even less than a minute. But it seemed like it took forever because I'm the center of the jokes, right? And I'm thinking at the time, if I don't do anything, then everybody else is going to feel like they can take my cookie and drink my milk for the rest of their lives. That's how my young mind was thinking at that point in time. It wasn't go to right next door to my aunt and say, Auntie, come, Eric just took my cookie and drank my milk. Can I get another 50 cents? Or, Eric, why'd you do that, man? Why would you do something like that? I didn't know how to have a civil conversation at that time. So my civil conversations were used with these things, right? So I was like, okay, I'm embarrassed. My brother's right there. He's not doing anything, but he's looking at me like, oh man, you ain't gonna let this happen, are you? Like, yeah, I'm not gonna have to step in, are you? So I get up and just act like I'm not gonna do anything. And I made a quick dash to the right and I made a quick dash at him and looked at him and I had to go to work. I went to work. It was pound town on Eric and he was on the table laid out. And from that day on, nobody else bullied me, okay? You had to set an example, and he was the one who had to, set an example, and they said I was crazy and all this other stuff. But anyway, I got suspended. Guys. I got suspended because we were fighting in school. And Eric got suspended for a week. I got suspended for only 2 days, okay? Because my aunt was, told the story and all this other stuff. But either way you get in the fight, you get suspended. But she's saying right now that you get in a fight in school these days, you no longer get suspended. You don't have people that are able to step in. You don't have people that don't want to step in because your kids are crazy. Your kids will beat them up. Your kids are bigger than them half of the time. I've seen those videos online where you see students fighting teachers. Usually the teachers getting their butt whipped, especially when you're in high school. You got these young big dudes and young big girls. They can go to town, and that's all they know because their minds do not know how to solve problems. They grow up in environments where all it is about fighting, and that's what's happening. So being a teacher these days, I'm like, it's like a war zone for some of these teachers. It's like a war zone. And they don't have anybody that's there that's willing to step in and help out. So admin is like, all right, well, you know what? We're not going to suspend them because we just got to get them out of here. We just have to get them out of here. I don't want to deal with them. I don't want to deal with the parents because if I say something to their parents are going to want to fight me. And I don't want to have to deal with that either. So they're failing. They are failing. Let's continue on.
It's just not happening. Even in the early 2000s and 2010s when I started my career, I was assured that if I called a parent to tell them about what was going on in my classroom with their child, they were most definitely going to say, I am so sorry. Do what you need to do. I'll talk to them when they get home.
I want you to send this.
Last comment on that one. She said something that was really important. I remember growing up where I was afraid of my teacher calling my mom or anybody else in my household. I was afraid. And I think teachers knew that. Because if a teacher was going to say something to your mom, you know that parent was going to correct the student and the child. Now it's at that point right now where teachers will say something and they're probably going to get lip service back. Oh, well, you shouldn't have been talking to her like that. What did you do? Well, teacher, I grew up in an environment where you respect the adult. That's not what's happening anymore. They don't respect adults anymore.
This video to anybody who can't understand why teachers are crashing out and quitting. I mean, they get their summers off, so what do they really have to complain about?
Listen to what she has to
I have
say.
brought visual aids. Here we go. So everything I show you on this green clipboard is going to represent when I started teaching in 2005, and everything on this red clipboard is 2025. I did not teach the full 20 years. I took 7 years off because I had children and my husband's in the military. We moved a lot. Here we go. These are actual seating charts that I found as I was cleaning out my desk today. So this represents the year 2005, and this is how many of my students are reading on grade level. Everything in blue. So I think 1.5 students out of like a group are struggling readers, but pretty much everybody's reading at least on level, some even higher, okay? 2025. How many of my students are reading on grade level?
You guys see that? You guys see that? It's 11 students. That's about half. More than half of the students. No, only half of the students are reading at grade level. You guys see that? See that difference between 2005 and 2025? This is stunning. Let her continue.
Okay, this next is an average of how many of my students failed my class. Like they are going to have to repeat this. There's no recovering. They failed. This is 2005. 0.5 student out of all of my students. This is this year. This is this year. On average, I teach about 100 students. On average, this is how many students in each class are not passing. They're going to have to take this class again. Okay, next, the orange represents in 2005 parent involvement. I always had parents either in my inbox asking about lessons, volunteering for field trips, or anything that we needed for our classroom, volunteering supplies. 2005, 2025. Where are the parents that are supposed to be involved in their school? Behavior issues. Students in 2005 that I had to like write up on referrals, call home, maybe have parent-teacher conferences for poor behavior. Out of a whole classroom, there was always like at least one bad apple, okay? 2025. Put your cell phone away. Why are you showing up to my class 15 minutes late? Don't talk to me like that. Don't call them the N-word. You know, if there's anything that being a teacher has taught me, it's analyzing data and trends. And I just don't like the current trends. So that is why you are seeing teachers leaving like in a mass exodus. Teachers are not.
You guys heard her. You guys heard her. From the involvement to the behavior issues and all that. Guys, in 2005, she says there was one kid out of all of her students that was causing ruckus in her class. You know, you would have that knucklehead. It typically is a dude. Knucklehead Johnny, knucklehead Dontavius, Dot Keeper, whatever the name was, right? You would always have one kid in a class that was a knucklehead. In 2025, you got 6 of them. Just imagine going to school and trying to learn when you got 6 knuckleheads. You're talking about like that's one knucklehead to every 3 kids, right? When you have one knucklehead, it's already enough. It's already a distraction. You remember being in class with those knuckleheads, right? They always would do something. There's no telling that they would, more than likely, they would do something to you, right? They would throw a piece of paper or fly an airplane or whatever it is, laugh, make a joke in front of the teacher, get everybody laughing, right? It's a big distraction. But now when you have 6, 7, 8 different knuckleheads doing the same thing, feeding off each other, how are kids able to learn these days? How are kids able to learn? They're not, which is the reason why you guys got to make the money, man. It's about the money. I'll tell you like this. This is my opinion here. You make the money, you can pay for the private schools so that you have to deal with this. Now, I got to say, in private schools is where you're going to have the knucklehead. I look at the numbers, and when she showed me the private schools in 2025, or the schools in 2025, how they had one knucklehead in the classroom, that's typically what I see in a private school as well. You got one knucklehead. But what I would tell you is that everybody knows about that one knucklehead, and they're trying to get that one knucklehead out. But there's still going to be one knucklehead. That's just what life throws at you. But when you got 6, that's a parenting issue. That's a society issue. That's a community issue. And that's what's happening right now in these schools. So you're talking about a generation that's growing up right now that doesn't have any accountability, doesn't have any responsibility, have parents that's not engaged and involved in their lives, parents that don't want to go on the school trips and not want to help the teachers out. If you call them, they're going to curse you out. Society is about to look real ugly. And for you folks right now that aren't getting your skills up, and you folks right now that are breeding these kids, you're going to be struggling even harder Because these are going to be the kids that are seriously going to be sucking taxpayers' dollars and going to be on these social programs. You're creating these kids if you're not doing your job. If you're not doing your job, you are creating these kids. Kids that are going to be on welfare, kids that are going to be Section 8, kids that are going to don't have any skills to enter the job force. Kids that's going to beat up people when they're walking down the street, knockout game. Kids that's going to throw rocks and throw it off bridges and hurt somebody because it goes into their windshield. Kids that take crazy armor to school and do the crazy stuff. And you got parents. Matter of fact, a couple days ago here in San Antonio, there was this kid who was plotting to do some damage to the school, right? Guess where he got the ammunition and armor from? Got it from his mom. His mom know that his kid was a threat, right? A threat to society, a threat to her, a threat to his classroom. His grandma found out that he had magazines, ammo magazines, right? He had shells, he had bullets. And she was like, where did you get access to them? My mom said if I did this, she would take me to the armor store. His grandma called the police, called the FBI. He had a document, he had a book where he was going to cause damage to the school. Got him, got her as well too. This happened in San Antonio, right down the street. These are the parents that's causing the chaos. And it's all races, guys. I'm a black man, right? And I'm seeing it across every single race. We're all going through the same stuff. If you don't make the right career decisions, you're going to be in a bad situation. If you don't choose to live up to your responsibilities and raise your kids the right way and ensure that they're growing up the right way, these are the victims and the people that you're creating that's going to cause craziness in the United States. I'll tell you this, consider homeschool. Consider sending your kids to private school. And for the kids and the parents out there that can't handle these kids, send your kids to the military, where a male figure or a female figure has full authority over them. People that dress up and shape up and will take you out back and make you do push-ups and sit-ups till you throw up, jumping jacks. Consider that, because they're not listening to you. I wonder what the end result is going to be. That's what I want to know. I want to get you guys' opinion. I know bad kids, and I know where they come from. They come from bad parents. I coached bad kids before. I've seen them. I've had a kid on the basketball court tell my son that your mama's dead. I've seen it. I've heard it. Like, where you get that from? Someone's like, what? Dad, you heard what he said to me? Didn't know what to say back. I'm like, oh man, it's starting at the age of 6. Starting at the age of 6. Had to have a conversation with his mom. His dad wasn't there. Now his dad shows up to the games every single time. The kid behaves. The kid behaves. It's important, guys. It's important for you to make sure that you make the right decisions, not only for yourself, but for your kids as well, too.